Hi everybody, this is Victoria and welcome back to another episode of Discovering Art Together, and today we are going to learn about Pre Raphaelite artists and Raphael, the artist himself. So we're going to dive in deeper and kind of compare and see what are the difference between the Pre Raphaelite artists and Raphael's own art, and kind of learning if they have any kind of similarities and what are the difference between the two art movements or artists. We'll be looking at a whole bunch of different paintings this time, so we're not going to kind of center on any specific paintings though, but just kind of learning and getting understanding of the different art styles and what inspired one another and what is similar, what's different. So it makes it really interesting to see why do they have similar names but they have a different approach to art. So if you guys are ready, let's get started. So first, let's learn a little bit about what is actually Pre-Raphaelite. So Pre-Raphaelite is a art movement made in the 19th century, mostly from England. So by English painters, writers, poets, and sculptors, you name it, like artists from England in the 19th century. And the idea for them is that they wanted to mostly concentrate more on going back to nature and also mostly prioritizing in realism and also using subjects from literature and poetry and mostly the themes that particularly deal with love and death. So one of the very famous paintings from the Pre-Raphaelite art movement is Ophelia from John Everett Millais, and that is a really, really gorgeous painting, and you can kind of see that we do have Shakespeare's Hamlet story from about Ophelia, and then as she is kind of drowning herself in this river, and then we have a really nice composition of nature surrounding her. So we have all the aspects of a Pre-Raphaelite art. Now we probably know some of the more well-known artists from Pre-Raphaelite times is John William Waterhouse, which I love his paintings. His paintings are gorgeous. There is also John Everett Millais, and also William Holman Hunt, and also Dante, Gabriel, Rossetti. So those are one of the big names for Pre-Raphaelite artists, and then there's many more because part of the Brotherhood, I think so there was 7 members, kind of like founders of it though. John William Waterhouse came a little bit later though, but he has a really big impact in Pre-Raphaelite just because of his amazing skill in painting really realistic and kind of having an academic style to it though, but approaching the subjects and creating paintings that are more Pre-Raphaelite like. So now that we know what Pre-Raphaelite is, we are going to jump into Raphael's art and Raphael himself. So Raphael is a very well-known Italian high Renaissance artist, along together with Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. And since that's more in the 15th century, it's quite a bit earlier on from the Pre-Raphaelite artists. So now let's have a few comparisons between these paintings that we're going to look at and kind of see what did Raphael and the Pre-Raphaelite artists did so they have a similarity to both of them. So let's go ahead and take a look. On the left side we have Raphael's painting of La Belle Jardiniere, which is painted in 1507, And let's take a look together and to see what was actually quite similar to some of the more Pre Raphaelite paintings. So let's go ahead and take John William Waterhouse's The Lady of Shalott. Okay, and as you can see, definitely they both kept nature as one of the very important subjects in their paintings. So nature is dominating and very important subject or secondary subject in the painting. And also another main thing that they also did keep that are very similar is this having a female main subject. So a lot of the paintings from Pre-Raphaelite depict a very beautiful woman or many beautiful ladies, and having them being the hero or the spotlight and the main character in the scene. So Raphael did also something very similar to, depending on like which painting it is. So if we were looking at La Belle Jardiniere, she is the main subject along with two younger children. Oh yes, another thing that was really similar that both the Pre-Raphaelite artists have and Raphael also has is the realism. The realism is very well executed. They did a really great job of actually being able to paint such detail, adding such realism and life to the figures and the characters in the painting, and also making it really realistic. And definitely the Pre-Raphaelites also did I would say even better job, because since Raphael is from an older era and from the 15th century and mostly the high Renaissance time, it had a lot of like religious background and influences, so it probably didn't look as realistic as if we were to see an actual person today. I would actually categorize the color palette as the difference between the two art styles and art movements. So what happened here is that, as you can see, the Pre-Raphaelite artists have a tendency to have a bigger and larger variety of different colors in their paintings and compositions. So they were a lot more free of using more daring colors that a little bit different from what Raphael used. And like definitely that also differs on which painting it was. But mostly, as you can see, you have more popping colors and also colors that do bounce a lot. Mostly if we take a look at this painting by John Everett, which is called the Black Burns Wicker? Yeah, the Black Burns Wicker. So this painting over here, we see lots of green, lots of brown colors, lots of purple, and then this very silvery, silky white dress, and this really dark navy blue suit that the male character is wearing, and then the golden frame for this painting of Jacques-Louis David's Napoleon, which I really love that they added that extra detail in there. But and also the black dog, and then also the red ribbon. So just a lot of colors going on. I personally don't like that as much because there's too many colors, and sometimes simpler is better. So that's one of the things I'm not too big of a fan of that though, but definitely it really depends on the painting. So it's just this particular painting that was a little bit all over the place though. I prefer John William Waterhouse's color palette a lot more because it's more neutral, less bouncing, distracting colors. And I guess, yeah, I don't know, I would say the color part is like a mix. It's a half and half of like very similar to Pre-Raphaelite and Raphael's paintings, and then at the same time it's also not. But definitely Raphael's color palette is a lot more limited. It was more simple. It wasn't as varied and complicated. Definitely if he had more subjects and more figures in there, then it would make sense that he had more choices of playing with different colors to separate the different characters though. But if it were more like a single subject, it was more muted, it was more neutral, less distracting, you know, because the more colors we add, the more we get distracted because there's so much stuff to look at. So now, this painting is another great example of what I mean by when it has a lot more jumpy colors in Pre-Raphaelite paintings, and it's another one by John Everett, which is Mariana, and that one is really jumpy. So we can definitely also categorize the colors into more limited color palette though, but if you kind of see this painting, there's a lot of variety of different colors, so it's really jumpy. We have more or less all three primary colors because the seed is red, we got this very yellow like wood flooring, and this beautiful dark navy blue velvet dress, and all the green and nature that's surrounding it. And we also will have a lot of orange and blues and reds from the tinted glass. It's just a lot of color, a lot of information, a lot of things to look at, so it's very jumpy. Definitely, I do prefer the Ophelia painting by Millais. That one is a little bit more neutral because we do see a lot of colors in it though, but it's not too much. It's a lot more subtle, and I find that a lot more calming, a lot more smoothing, and definitely it also has to do with the painting subject and story as well, since she is literally kind of dying and kind of like floating away in the water, right? So yeah, this subject has always been a very beautiful one. There's a lot of different versions of Ophelia, and I think that one was probably the one that's most well-renowned painting from Pre-Raphaelite artists. But yeah. Again, John William Waterhouse's paintings also do include a lot of nature, which is really beautiful. So it has like a really nice balance between that, because as you think about it, Renaissance painting has a lot more symmetry, also kind of concentrating and focusing more on the idealized figures and also composition. And realism is always there too though, but there's more architectural kind of backgrounds, so not as much nature depending on which artist is painting though. But generally I think high Renaissance times people like more sophisticated stuff, geometry, symmetry, architecture, all that stuff. So not as much nature, more structured, man-made items. Okay, and that concludes for today's new discovery about Pre-Raphaelite artists and Raphael himself, and seeing the similarities and differences between these two art movements and artists. So I hope you guys learned something really interesting, and hopefully you can also add this knowledge to your own creative process too. So this actually brought a lot of inspiration for me and my own artworks, since I've always been a person that was very interested in Pre-Raphaelite art style, and also something that's a little bit more classical, which is the High Renaissance, which Raphael was one of the great masters of that time. Being able to see both of the art styles and kind of figuring out what is similar, what is different, really helped me understand a little bit better of like what I personally want in my own artworks and creations. So this is a great eye-opening and kind of discovering what I could use in, whether if it's in composition, color palette, what colors to use, and also storytelling, and what kind of subjects that I would want to pick and add into my own paintings. It was a really cool discovery. I really enjoyed this. I was happy that I did a lot of research into this and just trying to figure out what in the world is going on here, because at the very beginning I always thought that they were somewhat similar, where Pre Raphaelite was something where it's like a new Renaissance almost, so it's like a rebirth of that era in time, but technically it actually is not. It's actually quite different from Raphael's paintings. But they did keep a lot of similar stuff, like keeping nature, female figures, and female as the main subjects, some of the color palettes, and definitely also the realism, and they actually brought the realism to a higher level in Pre Raphaelite. At least that's what I think. But yeah, okay, awesome. Well, thank you for joining this brand new episode, and I hope this new knowledge is helpful for you, and hopefully this would also help you out with your own creations when you're creating your next new art and masterpiece. But yeah, feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions, or if you want to share some of the things that you discovered as you were watching this video, and a mini exercise for you guys this week. So since we learned a little bit about Pre Raphaelite and Raphael's paintings, we want to kind of see if we can actually add this into our own paintings. So whether if it's adding nature, having female subjects as our main subject, and also playing around with the color palette depending on if you want a more neutral and less flamboyant color like the Pre Raphaelite artist, or a little bit of both. So kind of play around with that. Looking forward to see you guys in the next episode, and stay creative, have fun, and take care. Awesome. I'll see you guys next week, and we shall discover a lot more and kind of explore, have fun, and see what is out there for us to learn. There's plenty more stuff to explore, plenty more stuff to discover and learn. Okay, see you. Take care. Bye.